Are you there, Eddie?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We don't see you, but we hear
you. There
you are.
All right. Well, turned on my Wi-Fi on the phone, and that's how it worked. So I think I've just gotten a message from AT&T that says, well, from somebody saying I have
All right, so
sorry.
All right, we're all on. So call to order the McCracken County Fiscal Court meeting, November 22, 5 p.m. 2021. Video conference. And Madam Clerk, you call the roll, please.
Commissioner Bartleman.
Here.
Commissioner Jones.
Here.
Commissioner Parker.
Here.
And Judge Clymer.
Here. Commissioner Bartleman, you offer our prayer, please.
Sure will. Father, we just thank you for the blessings of this day. We thank you for the opportunity we have to serve this county. We just pray you be with us as we make decisions that we may make life better for all. Father, we ask a special prayer tonight for the victims and first responders and all others who were impacted by the catastrophic parade catastrophe in Michigan and Wisconsin. Father, just pray you be with them and give them comfort at this time of need and time of grieving in that community. We also pray for our first responders for all that they do, for their preparations to deal with emergencies and to keep us safe. We just pray you be with them as they perform their duties. Father, again, we just ask you to be with us as we conduct the business of this county. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Stand and join me in the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. And to the republic
for which it
stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Let's see. First off, on the consent agenda, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So made.
Second.
Any discussion on the consent agenda? Any of the items? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. Budget transfers.
It is ordered that the necessary cash transfers in the amount of $990,000 be made in order to pay county bills and payroll approved November 22nd, 2021.
So made.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. Accounts payable.
It is ordered to approve the vouchers claims register from November 8th, 2021 to November 22nd, 2021 to show county bills in the amount of $425,069.79 were paid.
So made.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. All right, that gets us to our discussion items under topic 4. We have on, I asked Steve to just kind of give us a short rendition of new animal control software that we are going to start using, make us, I think, more efficient in our animal control efforts. We do receive a great deal of interest, we call it interest, from the community about animal control, and we're trying to do the best job we can. Steve, do you have a short explanation you can give on what that is?
Yes, Judge, we have some show and tell material here. So we invested a very modest amount of money in a online animal control module that allows us to more effectively track and report on calls that come into the office. So we started sort of a beta version of this in late October. So we've been trying to figure it out and use it for a little under a month now, but it is far and away the most common call that comes into the office and generates lots of follow-up calls. And I'm sure you've all had calls from concerned citizens about, I've called animal control and I need somebody to do something about this. Well, in the past, when a call would come in, and part of the problem is calls can come in two different places. They can come into the dispatch center, they can come to the animal control number, they can come into the judge's office, or sometimes the officers get directly called on their cell phones. And capturing this all in one place is really important to us because we use this data for billing. When I came back on board a couple of years ago, I learned that the billing was, we just do 50-50 here at the county. Well, the interlocal agreement says we apportion the cost based on the number of calls. And so we know there's a little bit more activity within the city of Paducah, and we needed to capture that data and do our billing accurately. So a large part of this effort is one, to get our billing to more accurately reflect where we do the work, and secondly, to make the system a little bit more accountable as it comes to follow up and providing good service. So what this allows me and particularly Jonna in my office is when a call comes in, we can quickly go to a screen that looks like this that lets us enter specific data in. And, for the most part, the vast majority of our calls that come in they're calls about aggression, an aggressive dog, a lost and found pet, an animal at large, or some other nuisance type event. So we can quickly capture that data into a record, and then when we fill that in, let's show you an example of one of what they look like. So we fill that in and it creates a record, and we capture all the data, and then it allows us to dispatch it. So Jonna can select one of our two officers. In this particular case, she notified both of them. And then when they actually respond to that, they'll fill these blanks in and write notes into either a diary or a log, and otherwise let us decide, is this something we're going to follow up on? Are we going to close this case? Or have we removed a dog and impounded it? So this makes it really convenient, particularly for me to monitor what's going on in the field really, really closely, but also make it very easy for me, especially when we get a complaint that I've reported this and nobody's doing anything about it, for me to quickly check the record and see what we are doing about a call, because that is somewhat of a frequent call that comes in. It also maps all of our incidents. These are all active ones that we haven't closed out yet. I'm guessing a majority of these could be closed out, but it gives me a ability at a snapshot to see where the calls are coming. Do we have hotspots? Are we going repeatedly to a particular place? This is in our beta version. You can see by date. I'm scrolling through them. On a daily basis, we're probably taking 5 to 7 calls. Each one creates, generally a trip to the place. Oftentimes, it's a follow-up, and it gives us the ability to track and make all the data searchable. So we know we get sometimes dissatisfied customers, and we know that sometimes people report that onto the elected officials that, gosh, I've talked to animal control and they're not doing anything about it. And in the past, I could sometimes find that frustrating. Not always. Sometimes maybe we haven't done anything about it, but other times we responded repeatedly to a complaint or a call, and we just didn't have a good ability to show by our records that we had responded to that. So that's that small improvement with the idea of improving service.
Anybody, any questions about it?
So we've already paid for it?
You said, did we already pay for it?
Yes.
Now, what was the expense on it?
About $300 a year.
That doesn't sound like much.
Yeah, we've looked at some very expensive ones that are make a large investment in software. This one was a relatively inexpensive one. It doesn't create any long-term commitments, and we always own our data. So if we decide this thing, it was actually designed to be a part of managing an entire shelter. We used just a little piece of the entire program, and it was affordable to the point of this is a good place for us to see how we can implement this into our systems without a big investment.
Let me ask one follow-up, and then I'll yield to Jeff. So how far back, when did we start, and what's our length of data so far?
I think our first date we entered stuff was October 21st, about a month at this point.
So you get more city calls than you get county calls?
Don't know yet, but I'll be able to tell you by year end. As we do this, we're better learning about all of the external calls from service that were coming in that we didn't previously know about or were capturing. Up until this point, sort of what we used for deciding was it a call in the city or a call outside the city limits, we used 911 records through their dispatch system to help us ascertain that. But that didn't capture all of the calls. It didn't get all the calls that came into the office. It didn't get all the calls that came in directly to the animal control officers themselves. So this will make the system of searching these out and properly appropriating the costs more accurate.
Sure. Sorry, Jeff, I'm done.
It's okay, Eddie. I'm used to it. All jokes aside, I just want to say I had a little bit of time this summer. I interacted and was around these guys for a week or so, guys and girls, and they do a good job. They're for what they make and all, and their working conditions. I mean, they're kind of up against the wall, and they got to have a love for animals, but they do a good job.
James, thank you for saying that. James and Whitley are their hearts are really pure about taking care of animals and doing the right thing by animals. We only have 2 officers, and that covers 250 square miles, a couple thousand calls for service a year. And that includes dealing with all the after hours calls. While they work a regular Monday through Friday schedule, issues of an emergency nature do come up after hours and on weekends and holidays, and we have to answer all those calls. So doing it with only 2 people.
Steve, do they have laptops in their vehicles, or do they have to go back to the office?
No, they have laptops in their offices and they have cell phones. This thing I showed you shows up on their phones or their laptops. So we can do this right in the field. It's our primary method for dispatching a call directly to them, is through either their mobile device or their laptop.
And does this software, does it automatically prepare a report on locations, or do you have to go through and manually decide whether it's a city or county call?
We're figuring that out. I was playing with that today. It does have a report generator and does allow us to export all of our data. So I think it's going to make that process a lot easier.
I think it's good you got this software to help out the employees who deal with that, and also will allow us, as you mentioned, to accurately see if there's repeated calls to certain areas. And I think it's really good you did that. That should help them out and make them a lot more efficient. And you are right. Jeff, they really work hard and they're dedicated to what they do, and they don't get paid a whole lot of money. So I think that's really good we're doing that.
I guess it's a good point to make too, that a lot of these calls, and I would say probably the majority of them, have to do with the people need to do a better job being personally responsible for their animals. Usually it's dogs. The dogs are chasing neighbors' dogs, in some cases chasing neighbors themselves, and chasing the neighbors' pets, cats frequently. That was a hot button here just recently. So if people would take more responsibility, please, and keep their animals under control, at least on their own property, as they should, and it would cut down on a lot of the problems and save some troubles. All right, thanks, Steve. Bruce Wilcox here from GPED. Bruce, where are you? See him now. You in there, Bruce? There he is.
Yeah, here I am.
All right, you want to give us an update?
Absolutely. So I think it might have been mid-year or so when we did our last presentation. So share a few things with you that hopefully it's not new news, but a refresher or reminder of a couple of things that have happened. But before I do that, I want to say first and foremost, and thank you all, the Fiscal Court, for your partnership, and especially with this time of the year, Thanksgiving and all that. We want you to know how much we appreciate you guys and your partnership with us. So since we last met, we've announced 2 projects that cumulatively total 90 jobs with a $66 million capital investment. They were Drake Lighting. If you'll recall, Drake Lighting purchased the recently vacated ACBL building out in Commerce Park, the Information Age Park. They were closed on the building in October and relocating their facility there. So we were excited to get that space backfilled and to have them become part of our community here in Paducah. The other announcement was the American Bridge project that was a partnership with the Paducah McCracken County Riverport. Tim Cahill there did a wonderful job securing that and bringing that in for us. So the average rate of pay with benefits on that job is $57 an hour. So we were excited to get that. And that's going to have a significant impact on our community as well. Just for, if you're keeping running tabs, over the last 24 months, we've announced 333 direct jobs with an additional 235 induced and direct jobs for a total of 568 jobs. Capital investment of $123 million with a recurring economic impact of $67 million a year. So some pretty nice results there. Since we last met, we were talking about some of our projects we've announced. If you recall, back in the summer, we announced Blockware Mining Incorporated, a cryptocurrency project that we had worked on. And I was asked to participate with Mike Stolzner, the CEO of Blockware Mining, and Jeremy Witten with Blockware to do a presentation with a subcommittee of workforce development and workforce in Frankfurt to a group of senators and representatives on the benefits of cryptocurrency and the impact that it has or will have in our community. So that went well, and we got some nice publicity from that. I think last time we met, we had anticipation or plans of rolling out our marketing campaign. Our marketing campaign has formally been rolled out and operational for about the past 6 or 7 weeks. We still have another couple of months to go with it, but our ads are primarily being presented on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. You could also see those if you come to our website as well. But all of our marketing campaign, it's consistent with our messaging, and we've consistently talked about having one voice with each other, with our community, with the media, everyone, and that's kind of what our marketing campaign does. It ties together the one voice of our sites, our workforce development, and our education initiatives. So we're really excited about that. We know it's working.
Bruce, have you had any response from that? Can you tell if you've had any reaction from that yet? Or I know it takes a while for that to sometimes, but any.
We've seen a significant increase in our website traffic. We've actually seen a company or two that was kind of nosing around a little bit on some projects. We've seen them hit our site as well. So to say we've landed a project from it, no, but without doubt, when you look at the additional volume of traffic that we're seeing on there, we know it's working and the message is getting out.
Good, thank you.
So we currently have 20 projects in our pipeline, all at different and varying stages. But we particularly have 4 hot projects that we think could have decisions within the next 6 months. Those 4 projects cumulatively have 3,250 jobs and over $5 billion in capital investment. So since we've last met, we've actually had 4 site visits from 3 different companies. One of the companies has been here twice, and we've gotten some really nice feedback from all of those. And we continue to make the short list and still be included in the conversation. So we're really encouraged by what we've seen from our site visits and the feedback that we've been getting there. So we had a number of projects that we hope to have decisions on by the end of this year, but for whatever reason, they keep getting delayed. I know back in June, we mentioned we had 6 projects that we hope to have decisions on by the end of this year. Only one of those has actually made an announcement. The other 5, they're still not canceled. They're still active. They're still in our pipeline, but the company have not made a decision on those yet.
So the one announced, I assume we didn't get.
Pardon?
You said there was one announcement?
That was Drake Lighting.
Oh, that was Drake.
That was one of our 6 that we had listed. The American Bridge project, the opportunity came up really quick, and it was not in quote the pipeline when I updated you guys on the numbers before. So that's one that came about, and we were secured, closed it within the window of time here.
Have we gotten has anyone told us no in the last 6 months?
No.
Okay.
I assumed I would be going into executive session with you all to talk about the project.
Yeah, if you can stick with us, we'll get to that in a little bit.
Sure. So that's what I've got. I've got a lot more I can share with you in executive session, but that's kind of a pretty good 30,000-foot view.
Okay. Any questions of Bruce? We'll get with him in executive here in a little bit. Bruce, if you want, we can send you a text or something. I know all this is riveting for you to participate in going through the rest of our discussions, but if you want to bail out, we can send you a message when we're ready to go into executive or whatever you preferred.
Okay, I'm here in the office. How long do you think that'll be?
Be 30 minutes at least, I guess. Probably longer.
Okay. I'll do that.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Somebody remind me, Steve, or somebody remind me to send him a text when we get ready to go in executive. All right. Thank you, Bruce. All right. And then we were continuing our review for our resolution 2020-15 regarding wage adjustments. I don't know if we're going to come to any conclusion tonight or not, but put it on to follow up. I think the sheriff, let's see, do we have the sheriff on?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
All right. There's Matt. Matt, you were going to put together some numbers. I frankly didn't get an opportunity to look at what you provided, but try to help us to understand how whatever level of increase, if we were able to make an increase, how that would affect and be spread across the sheriff's office.
Sure, I'd prepared this, sent it out to everyone. I think I've spoke to pretty much everyone, tried to answer some questions. Happy to answer any questions that anybody has or give any added explanation to the proposed increase to equalize the pay at the sheriff's office in-house. We talked about an internal pay deficit that we had encountered that had just accrued over the years to balance that and to include a 50-cent raise across the board, which brought that total of my proposal of $157,160.64.
Judge, can I comment on that?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think what you're doing to equalize the pay, it's something that we've had a goal on. I think we had hoped that we get a little bit closer to being equalized in some of the previous extra funds we gave. So I want to really commend you for coming up with that to equalize the pay. So somebody that works there, if there's 5 deputies who work there 5 years, they're all going to have the equal pay, and I think that's good. And I think the 50-cent pay raise, I think that's doable. The $157,160, I think we can afford that. And then money we have left, we can see what we can do with the jail. So I think that'll help when we're done here. I think, Sheriff, you and I have discussed that we don't want the deputies to think we're going to give extra increases every year. This is a 1-year effort to boost the salaries, because I think we all agreed that the salaries were not what they needed to be for the sheriff's office. And for at least the immediate future beyond this, they'll get the cost of living increases. And then if things change financially in the future, we might be able to do something, but we don't want there to be any thought of any of the deputies that it's a commitment. This is going to happen all the time. I know we're always comparing to other law enforcement agencies. Some of the other agencies that you compare the salaries with, they have a different type of policing, a more condensed the cities and things like that. It would be nice to be the leading agency on salaries, but we just can't afford that. But I think there's a lot of advantages to working in a sheriff's office. It's a little bit, it's still a tough job, but it's a little bit more laid back than in some of the other agencies that are more regimented. Deputies have opportunities for overtime. They have opportunities to work in other duties, to do private security when they're off duty and earn some extra money. So I really favor this, and I hope tonight we can approve this to increase $157,160. And obviously that's the 12-month increase. If we make the change effective in January, it would be half of that for this budget. Then starting in next July 1st, it'd be another $157,000. So if we approve this tonight, it'd be about a little less than $80,000 impact on the budget. So I commend you, Sheriff, for coming up with this. And I think you indicated the deputies understand what we're trying to do here. We tried to get the salaries up, but this isn't a commitment that there's going to be extra money in the near future, but we'll keep up with the cost of living. So I really appreciate what you've done and your efforts and the efforts of all the deputies. It's hard work, and and they never know what they're going to get into. And we needed to increase salaries, and I think now we're a lot more respectable than what we were on our salary schedule. So I appreciate
it. Bill, you said that this, I didn't follow your math on why this would only be an $80,000.
Well, the impact on the immediate budget, the 2002 budget, we've only got 6 months left on that. The 157,000 is the value of the increase over a 1 year period.
I got it.
So
okay.
we only have to change the budget for half that, roughly $80,000 for this budget. Then effective next July 1st, the full effect of 157,000 will go into effect.
Okay, I just got it now.
Well, let me, my recollection, correct me if I'm wrong, and we can start this discussion wherever we want, but my recollection is from the last meeting, was it's all pertaining to this resolution 2020-15, that we would do one bump to, I think it was jail and sheriff's salaries, part of it to maybe in the first bump, I think included the clerk's office. But anyway, one bump, and then do another, when I say bump, another increase in salary, and we did that one as well. And then the resolution provided that if we believe that we were in sufficient financial condition to give yet another raise, a third one, that we would attempt to do that with some language about, it's aspirational. Maybe we can, maybe we can't, and that sort of thing. But my recollection is we were talking about in the neighborhood of 125,000 total, which less the pension cost would be around 82,000 net to the sheriff's department. I don't know how that math works out. $82 net, 82,000 net, or if you go with 125, including the pension, if that's obviously it's much less than 50 cents an hour, but we're discussing then now of giving my recollection, larger increase than we were 2 weeks ago when we had the discussion. I just want to make sure we got, if my recollection is incorrect, then it is. But
I don't think we made a firm commitment, Judge, that it was 125. That was our low goal, but we wanted to look at some numbers and see what the sheriff came up with. This 157,000 over a 12-month period, that includes, according to the sheriff's calculation, that includes all of the fringe benefits and all the extra costs involved. And I just think we need to do it and get it done. And we made a commitment when we made an adjustment in our tax structure that one of the first priorities would be to increase salaries. And I think we need to fulfill that. And over a 6-month period, it's not going to be that much more money than 125,000. So I think we need to do it, get it done with, and then the deputies know where they're at. We don't have to worry about another decision being made in July. I think we need to go ahead and do it, and then figure out what we want to do with the jail.
Well, and then we, of course, we had the, I'm not saying against that. I'm just saying this 50 cent an hour increase and it being at whatever the number was, 180,000 is 55,000 more than we were talking about 2 weeks ago. But we also then need to, of course, throw in the mix. I just discovered today in doing some research that the Social Security Administration has identified a 5.9% COLA that will go into effect in December. We are not required to pass on the COLA to our employees, but traditionally we have, and it would seem appropriate that we would do that. And so this sheriff's increase at 50 cents an hour would then increase then on the July budget by another 5.9% if we do that. I'm just saying we need to keep those numbers in mind. And just as the overall, you gentlemen know, yes, you could say the representations, the promises that we've made to some of these huge projects that Bruce was talking about a while ago is going to cost a large expenditure from the county to have them come. They don't come if you don't provide these expenditures, provide them land, provide it prepared, that sort of thing. And so that's something that we're going to see up front to be included in as the top one or two placeholders for these potential projects. And so, and I heard Commissioner Barman say any money we have left over, we could then put to the jail. I don't know from what fund you're talking about. I wasn't clear what fund you're referring to, money left over.
That was the $250,000 that was our not firm commitment, but our goal was to increase the salaries by $250 on January 1st if we had the money available, and that was for the jail and for the sheriff's office. So if we do $158,000 for the sheriff's office, that'll give us some other money that we can try to help the jail out. I mean, we don't have any firm commitment yet on the jail. We need to kind of look at a salary structure to try to increase that. I think there's a difference between the sheriff's office and the jail. We lose deputy sheriffs because they move to other agencies. We don't lose deputy jailers because they move to another jail somewhere. I think we could, I think people come in, they try it, they don't like it, and they leave, and that's why we have a high turnover there. So if we can come up with a plan to boost the salary level of mid-level jailers after 4 or 5 years, I think that'll help to give people an incentive to stay. But we can decide that after we can work that out with the jailer after we get this taken care of.
And I assume, of course, we don't have to decide this, or maybe we will tonight, but I assume everybody probably is in favor of passing this 5.9 COLA to all our employees. That was not, as I recall, maybe we talked about a COLA. I don't recall specifically, but I suspect it was not anywhere near 5.9. Usually a COLA is in the 2 to 3% range, if that. So from our last discussion, we're up by 50,000-60,000 plus a 5.9% COLA that will go into effect in July. So we just need to be aware of that's your pleasure. There may be things that we'll have to tighten up, not fund, or we say we can afford it. I suppose we can, but we're not rolling in high clover by any means. Anybody else have any?
Matt?
Yes.
So if we give this 50 cent an hour raise across the board, what would the starting pay of a deputy be at that point?
That would get us to
$2,150.
yes, just shy of 45,000 on starting pay, and then whenever they get their 4,000 incentive, that would put them up closer to 48,000.
So close to $50,000 a year.
Yes,
with some overtime.
Yes.
So when will we know the true numbers on the COLA or what the government passes down to us, Steve?
In January, we will get our letter from the state, which will describe the COLAs that will be paid to the elected officials.
So if we give these guys a 50 cent an hour raise now, and we get passed down a 6% COLA at a $50,000 a year job, that's $3,000 more a year, correct? My math right?
No, it's 50 cents an hour is about $1,000 a year.
But that's what we want to give them now. And then if we, in January, if it's 5.9, just say 6% COLA on a $50,000 a year job, that's another $3,000 per employee or more. That's just on the starting salary. So
that's right.
Okay.
But Jeff, it's not just 50 cents raise that they're talking about. There's two components to these raises. It's more than 50 cents.
Right.
Okay.
I know. I guess you're talking about retirement and benefits and all that.
No,
taxes.
no, I'm talking about actual raises. There's two components to the raise that Matt did in his outline. So the 50 cents goes to everybody, but there are other additional raises that people are getting. So it's not just 50 cents. But as far as the benefits, yeah, the benefits are a little bit more than what's calculated on Matt's sheet. The benefits for a 12-month period, including the retirement jump up, are like $176,000.
Matt figured his, or the department figured or estimated benefits to be 40%. They're in excess of 54%. So when we make that calculation, it's not the 157, it's 176.
So the 40% is going up?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, the 40%.
Is that taking into account the number of retirees that we have, that savings?
No, because we would have had to gone through them and pull those out. So no, it doesn't take that into account. But you have to throw in there the FICA and the Medicare, which is 7.65%. You've got to throw that in there on top of retirement.
And we figure generally workers' comp and unemployment at about 3%.
Yes.
I think whatever we do, we need to take that into account and make an adjustment on the pay raise. So the 50 cent an hour jump may not be 50 cents then, but because I think it needs to be the gross amount, including the fringe benefits, should be somewhere under 160,000. And then if that comes out as a 35 cent an hour extra increase, that's what it needs to be. But again, the commitment is that the gross amount for the sheriff's office would be somewhere around $158,000, including all benefits. So again, the take home hourly pay may not be quite as high. And I think we need to calculate that.
So we got two components, Pam, bearing into 176. One is the 50 cents for everybody, and then the other is the adjustments to give us what I'm going to call the military grid. Do we know if we were to back out the 50 cents for everybody and just get us the military grid? Do we know the cost of the military grid? Does everyone understand my question?
Yes, that's on Matt's sheet. He's done two separate columns. So on his sheet, he's calculated the salary only number for that to be a little over 73,000.
That's the military grid.
Yes.
And is that
am I reading your sheet, Matt? Right?
I believe that's right.
Yeah, that's what he's got. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I was kind of dependent. I was depending upon Wi-Fi to have that, and I don't have it in front of me, and apparently can't. So I apologize.
Just to do that, Eddie, it would be $73,777 for the salary increases, and that at 40% estimates $295 for benefits for a total of $103,000. But that 40% isn't correct. It would be higher.
I was about to go there, Pam. So the 73,000 needs to be adjusted for FICA and workers' comp and Medicare, right?
Yeah, the 73,000 is just salaries only. So if you want to tack on the benefits for just the first 6 months before the rate changes.
Right.
In
We'll
July.
see a 12% increase in that rate on July 1.
So you're talking about 52% rather than 40% for benefits.
Yes.
So they've had another $38,000, right?
Yes.
Well, let me say this. I'm very committed to the idea of the military grid. And what I mean by that, for those who don't understand what I'm talking about, is being able to look at the grid and see, all right, this is an E7 Sergeant First Class with 8 years experience. He gets this. He has 6 years experience, knows why the guy who's got 8 years experience is getting more money. It works for the military. It work well for our sheriff's office, and I commend the sheriff for trying to get us there. I would ask the sheriff, if this gets us there, how do we keep it there? How do we make sure we don't get it?
To back up just a couple of minutes so that everybody understands and sees where I'm coming from on this. Historically, and Steve can vouch for this, I think he was actually instrumental years ago in starting to formulate a plan that had a pay grade, and it was basically spelled out as a grade 1, 2, 3, and 4 year deputy. At that time, that was great, and it provided an increase for a period of 4 years for deputies years ago. And we've just kind of been stuck on that model for the past 15 plus years. What I saw whenever we began looking at this, as some of these raises has come about, is we had deputies in the same years of service bracket. 2 different deputies may be making as much as $1 or even more in some instances an hour than the deputy that he was working alongside of. So the first thing we did is formulated a plan to equalize that internal pay deficit and put things into a category where it was showing like 1 year of service. Then the second bracket would be 2 to 3 years of service, 4 to 5, 6 to 10, 11 to 15, and 16 to 20. Something that we know that has occurred in recent years is the fact that the retirement went from 20 years to 25 years. So in doing this, what we did is we took our deputies on staff and put them in these respected categories of years of service. We took the highest paid deputy in that particular bracket, and we brought the deputies that was in that same bracket up to that same pay. So the average, I think it averaged out to be about $1 an hour raise for the deputies across the board. Actually, not across the board. That's inaccurate. There was about 6 deputies that was in these 6 different categories that was getting no raise at all. We were just bringing the deputies or the co-workers to them up to the same pay level. So in an effort to try to ensure everybody got something, that's when we added the 50 cent an hour raise, which added about $39,000 to our figures. So that at minimum, we had 6 deputies that was getting 50 cents an hour, which was about $1,000. And then other deputies that was getting that equal pay, which might include just glancing across here, a couple dollars an hour. See a $2.71. I think that, as best I can tell here at a quick glance, about the highest raise any individual deputy would be getting. Actually, I take that back. It looks like $3.21. So, but the overall average of being about $1 to $1.25 raise. So that's where that come from. To answer your question on how we can prevent this from the future and how I believe it will prevent it, is now if we have an established pay scale that branches out for a 20-year period instead of what we were working on, and that being a 4-year period, it will help circumvent that and provide that vision for the years of service to come.
It'll be a better tool for us.
Absolutely.
Well, I want to fund the grid.
I'll be happy to to take an accurate figure. Like I said, we were working off the 40%. I'll be happy to take a figure, an accurate figure. That being more, I was unaware of that, but take and plug that in to see where that falls to keep within whatever number is decided upon, if a number is decided upon here.
How about if we approve the grid and approve that, and then we'll wait and see what the COLA is in January, then make a decision on the extra in January, because I don't want us to come up and it cost us $180,000 for something we thought was going to cost $160,000. So how about if we do the grid, see what the COLA is, and then make a determination then, because the COLA could give, that could give everybody it's going to give everybody a pretty good bump in January. How about if we do that?
When does the
COLA then we wait on the 50 cents.
So what do you think the grid's going to cost, Matt? Right.
I'd like to cost about $85,000.
That would be to equalize, according to my numbers, would be 103, 288, 64.
I think I would go for that, and like I said, and Commissioner Barberman said, I mean, I'm worried about the COLA because we've got to do that across the board with not just the sheriff's department, but with everybody. So
yeah, the judge makes a good point in bringing that up. I appreciate you bringing that up, Judge. So, but if we do the grid now, that's going to keep us within the 125,000 range, and then we'll decide later on about the additional. So I think that's a good point. If it's 60% for the benefits rather than 40%, we need to make sure we understand that fully. Is that much? What is the amount? About 55 or 60%? What is it, Steve? With the retirement and everything.
This year for hazardous duty, it's right at 52%, and then it goes up about 4 percentage points a year because of the 12% compounding increase in hazardous duty retirement increases. So that's 52% in current year. By fiscal year 23 will be 63%.
I can agree. I think Eddie makes a good point. The judge makes a good point. I think we need to, because the uncertainty of those extra costs, that we do the grid now and see what happens in January, but there's no commitment there'll be anything else. But that'd be a pretty good, for some of those, it'd be a good bump in January if they get the equalization pay increase for some of them, plus the COLA increase. That's going to be a pretty good jump for some of them. For 6 of them, it might not be as big as for others, but hopefully they'll understand and appreciate that we want to equalize their fellow employees' salaries.
And I guess what I'm trying to say is that I want to make sure that we funded the grid first. I'm not uninterested in doing more if more is necessary to keep from losing transfers to other units. I just want to make sure. I want to make sure I understand what the cost of the grid is, Pam. And I guess Pam, you're the one that I want to hear what the cost of the grid's from.
Okay. All right. Well, with Matt's numbers and making the adjustments for the benefit number, I think you can add about 10,000 to it. So I think it's about $113,000.
I got 113,617.
And Steve, has there been an analysis of the grid to make sure that the grid doesn't create an unforeseen problem?
No.
Steve, could there be any unforeseen problem? I mean, do you have any idea what there could be negative repercussions to it? I think it's something we talked about before when we did these first increases last January, that we were hoping it would be more of an equalization, but
So this is
it wasn't the last two.
Sort of my off the cuff, as I was speaking with the sheriff this afternoon, is that in this plan, in those groupings that he sent you, it equalizes it to the highest paid person that falls into that span of years he described. And so sort of the problem is, if that's the permanent fix for the grid, then all of those people are affixed at that number except for COLAs going forward. Unless we adjust it to that, whatever that person or whatever that grouping is, that's the year. What we don't know right at this point is, like, for example, in the grouping that is years 12 through, was it 14? The highest paid person in that group right now is $25.19. So is that going to be the new permanent high for that grouping? And every, as soon as you get to year, if you're a 10-year person and then you hit year 11, you go up $2 and you sit at $2 for the next 4 years? Or are we going to have steps in between there, Matt? So that number becomes the high number for that grade. And then as you hit the grade, you'll see 1.5, 2% per year until you top out.
If I'm understanding your question, my proposal would be to adopt more of the plan to where you have these increases again from year 1 to 2, and then 2 to 3 remains years 4 through 5, 6 to 10, 11 to 15, and 16 to 20. I did not include any numbers at this time for anything above 20 because nobody within the agency at this time falls even in that category. So obviously, aside of year to year and a COLA increasing those respected categories or years of service, I would imagine that increasing as COLAs increase or potential across the board raises increase, but at least for now to equalize our pay deficit within, that was the easiest number we had to go by.
So my to be more specific, like using your sheet as an example, we have a road deputy grade 4 that's currently an 11-year employee, and we have a 13-year employee that's a detective 3rd grade. And the target number for equity is $25.19. So you're saying the year you become a road deputy, as soon as you hit year 11, you go to $25.19.
Correct.
Okay. So if there's a flaw, and I'm not saying there is, it would be the fact that once you hit that grade, that's your set salary for a period of 3 or 4 years.
Correct.
Yeah, and that may be the same
minus whatever we do with COLAs.
Correct.
I think that exists in the military as well. I think an E5 caps out at some. You got to have some incentive to move up and not just hang around.
This also affords us the opportunity, as we are working to recruit and retain, to be able to at least outline and show someone as they come in at what point in time they would be looking at least from now's standard numbers, exactly where they would be. And unfortunately, we don't really have that capability right now under the current pay scale that we're working under.
Yeah, I guess a difference in the military and the sheriff's offices is that there are some guys that want to be a road deputy for their entire career.
That exists, yes.
Yeah. And that's not necessarily a bad thing for us. I guess what you're saying, Steve, is that we need to be careful that that position doesn't top out at 10 years, so that the guy that decides he wants to be a road deputy for all 20 is somehow punished for that. And that may not be.
They will get COLAs.
And under the schedule, Eddie, they would get, if they were, when they reached 15 years, if they were still a road deputy, they would get a bump.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And I'm assuming that we're on the same wavelength here and thinking that it is if or when a COLA takes place, each one of these brackets would go up the amount that the COLA permits, correct?
Well, I was about to talk about that.
Well,
I don't know that
since we haven't codified anything, so that would be an item to be decided are these the locked in numbers, or do you adjust them on an annual basis as COLAs occur?
I guess I wanted to know more about that. And I think you alluded to that, Steve, that the COLA by statute affects elected officers. Historically, the county has followed the path of, well, whatever the COLA is for elected officers gets passed on to everyone else. But we've never had a COLA this high before. And the COLA for elected officers is probably about a $20,000–$25,000. Well, it's a significantly less expense.
Right, because you're a much smaller group of people that we will be required to give that to. It's the other 220 employees that will be wondering if they're going to get theirs.
And so is this COLA specific to Kentucky, specific to?
Yeah, so I'll have to dig up one of the letters. They explain their methodology, and it relies on a number of publicly reported data sets that relate to employment, and they adjust it for Kentucky. So they just don't arbitrarily decide on the number. There is a mathematical formula they use to determine that using unemployment data, or not unemployment data, using cost of living data.
Well, I'm not ready to without more diligence say everybody gets COLA. I'm not sure I'm brave enough to say they don't. I'm gonna punt on that issue and wait and see what more scrutiny comes down.
Well, we don't have to decide that tonight. I think it's probably going to be in the 5.9% range, 5.5%, if not 5.9%, but we'll have to wait and see in January. So is there somebody who wants to make a motion on the funding that grid plan?
I'll make a motion that we approve the grid plan not to exceed total cost of $115,000, including the equalization and benefits, not to exceed $115,000.
I'll second that.
For a 12-month period, not a 6-month.
For a 12-month period, not carrying on forward, you mean?
Right. Well, 6 months would be half of that. I don't want anybody to think we're putting $115,000 in for a 6-month period. That's the annual. That would be the annual cost of it.
I understand.
Okay, Mr. Bartleman, the amount may go above 115 once we adjust for the retirement July 1.
Well, to do the current increase, that's my motion. And then whatever it is in July, it's going to be. But this is the current increase.
Can you make your point one more time, Pam?
Well, he was saying not to exceed 115,000 for a 12-month period. But in reality, when we get to July and the retirement rate goes up, that 115 won't cover a 12-month period.
Well, I don't know how to make the motion then. What I want to make the motion is that we make an adjustment to equalize, and then whatever happens July 1st happens July 1st. But based on current numbers, the 115,000 would fund the grid.
Well, let me ask this: Why do we have to vote on this? Why do we have to vote? Why does this need a vote?
Because you're appropriating funds that aren't currently in the budget.
Right, but I mean, we're in a very not. I guess I'm uncomfortable with the non-specific nature of what we're voting on.
But
I'm very comfortable with the goal. I'm just uncomfortable with, and it might cost this.
Well,
that's why we put a cap on it, Eddie.
The other thing that's going to happen is when we implement it, we have to run it all back through the fiscal court for payroll reasons and reveal to you the exact wage number for every employee.
Right.
And we'll be able to demonstrate at that time if we're within the $115,000.
And this wage change will come into effect on January 1, right?
No, what we did in the last January cycle is it will start on the first day of the first new pay period in January, and maybe Pam's looked at the calendar and can tell you. So they'll get their check that reflects their full 2 weeks of wages in probably the second payroll they'll receive in January.
Right. It happens in January. The COLA happens when?
Our COLAs happen for elected officials. We pay those in January. And for all other employees, we pay them July 1.
And when you say elected, we have to do that by statute. That's not something Eddie, Bill, and Jeff and Greg get to vote no on. It just has to happen.
Pam, that's correct, right?
Yeah, it's correct, but it's for they kind of treat some elected officials differently. You know, for the clerk, sheriff, jailer, judge, they send me a sheet that specifically has the dollar amount on it that has to be paid out in that calendar year. For commissioners, coroners, and maybe county attorneys also a little different. There's a letter that comes out with a maximum that you can't go above. So it's treated a little differently. So the commissioners' rates usually are changed with the other employee rates July 1, not in January. And we never get the letter in time to do it in January. There's always that delay where we have to do that catch up, like in February.
So Pam or Steve, what's I guess I don't follow this, the unknown of the difficulty about saying it, a cap at 115. Why is it if we set the figures and if we're not talking right now about the COLA at all, what is it that's the variable that we can't count on?
Well, the numbers we have right now don't include apparently don't include an accurate estimate of the benefits. And I think Pam said it'd be about 113,000, but when that comes to its final number, we just want to make sure it doesn't come out a lot higher.
Well, what if we make the, we vote on just the base pay, and then the benefits are going to be whatever they're going to be? Reduce this by what we think. I don't know if that helps or not. If we make it on the base pay, then the benefits are something we have to pay. The deputies still get their amount of pay.
Yeah, that's fine, as long as it doesn't come out to be more than, a lot higher than what we think it's going to be.
The base pay was, according to Matt's calculation, $73,777.60.
Well,
would that not make sense to just say that, and then the benefits fall where they
That's
are?
fine. That's fine. I'll amend my motion to reflect that the actual amount allocated is the $77,000 figure plus the benefits, effective with the first pay period in 2022.
And there's the motion. For a second.
Second.
Any more discussion, or we already beat that all to death? All right, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries.
Thank you.
I believe you have to vote on the original motion now. That, I'm assuming, was a vote on the motion to amend.
Right.
Oh, okay. All right. And then on the original motion, all in favor, aye?
As amended, aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. All right. We're all good on that then.
Judge, I ask one quick question, sir.
Yes.
Just for clarification, so to equalize this, and Pam, you can help me on the equalized pay coming to $35.47 an hour, timesing that out by the 38 deputies at the 2,080 hours a year, coming to the 73,777.60 that we just discussed. That would go into effect for those affected the first pay period in January in full, correct?
It won't be the first pay period in January. It'll be the first pay period in January that includes January 1. So it most likely will be the second pay period.
The second, okay. Okay, all right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. All right, then on to item 5, items tabled.
It is ordered to approve the following change in the 2021 budget for the McCracken County Clerk's Office. Page 2, line 11, notary fees, original budget amount $9,006, amendment $7,194, amended budget amount $16,200. Page 2, line 20, deed transfer tax $340,875, $100,075, $440,950. Page 2, line 21, delinquent taxes $1,880,500, $1,228,250, and $3,108,750. Page 3, line 19, deed transfer tax $314,335, $104,570, $418,905. Page 5, line 59, refunds $1,025,500, $1,250,350, $2,275,850.
So move.
Second. And I apologize for making Vicki have to read this twice. I just didn't understand it last time. I still don't understand why we have to vote on it because it really doesn't do anything. But
well, I thought y'all had some questions for me about it.
Well, maybe we do. I've sent what I didn't have last time, Julie, was the original document, and I didn't have in front of me what we were amending. And so I didn't understand there were significant changes in numbers, and I was trying to ascertain whether those were going to mean significant changes in numbers for our budget. And I've since come to be told that they will not be affecting our present budget numbers.
Right. I mean, we have taken in more money, but the more money we take in, we just disperse back out. So and part of it was because of the increase in real estate, because real estate's selling so much now, and the prices that people are getting for homes are so much more. So therefore, we're getting more in deed tax. We're getting more in recording fees because more homes are selling. So that's where the deed tax, the money received and the money dispersed it is more, but we're receiving more documents, and the deeds that are coming in, the homes are selling for higher prices. And the refunds have to do with the delinquent tax sale.
I was looking to see if we had a windfall, and because these numbers look huge, and it doesn't sound like there's a windfall.
No, unfortunately, there's not.
Okay. Well, I didn't specifically ask for you to come answer these questions, but thank you for doing so.
Okay.
Any other discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. Item 6.
It is ordered that the executive order dated November 22nd, 2021, setting forth the 2022 fiscal court meeting schedule is approved.
So
made. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. B.
It is ordered that the 2022 McCracken County holiday schedule is approved.
So made.
Do I have a second?
Yes, I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye. Opposed, no. That carries. C.
It is ordered that as a result of the county clerk having declined to serve as fiscal court clerk, Vicki J. Potts, the executive assistant for the county judge executive, is hereby designated as the county's fiscal court clerk effective November 22nd, 2021.
So made.
Second.
I was thinking, was that not the provision where we were saying it should be the executive assistant, the county judge executive's executive assistant, as opposed to a specific person, so we don't have to possibly amend that down the road? Or
no, sir, that is the open records custodian you're thinking about. That comes up later.
Okay. Why would that same premise not be applicable here?
Because you have to
bond.
Because what?
You have to appoint a specific person as your fiscal court clerk, and they have to have a bond, which is next.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, let's see, did we get a motion yet?
Yes, sir, and a second.
Okay, any further
Ready
discussion?
for discussion.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. D.
It is ordered that the executed bond of Vicki Potts, which is required pursuant to KRS 67.120 and in her capacity as fiscal court clerk, is hereby approved. The amount of the bond is $10,000.
So made.
Second.
How much does the bond cost?
It'll be about $100.
Okay.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. E.
It is ordered to approve payment to the Board of Assessment Appeals in the amount of $400, of which $200 will be reimbursed by the state of Kentucky.
So made.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. F.
It is ordered that effective January 1, 2022, Peel and Holland and HealthWorks Medical will remain as wellness plan administrators. It is further ordered that the treasurer is authorized to execute the contracts with each of these companies. Each company will be addressing different areas of wellness. The Peel and Holland rate will remain at $6 per employee per month, and the HealthWorks medical rate will remain at $10.50 BEPM.
So made.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. Board appointment.
It is ordered that Barbara Townsley is reappointed to the Extension Board to serve a 3-year term beginning December 1, 2021 and expiring on November 30th, 2024, subject to further orders of the court.
So made.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. Ordinances.
It is hereby ordered that pursuant to KRS Chapter 67, the second reading and adoption of ordinance number 2021-16 shall be conducted in summary format as follows. The McCracken County Fiscal Court at this meeting on November 22nd, 2021 gives second reading to the ordinance titled as follows. An ordinance of the County of McCracken, Kentucky, authorizing the issuance of general obligation refunding bonds, Series 2021A, in an aggregate principal amount of $5,500,000, subject to a permitted adjustment increasing the principal amount of the bonds by up to $550,000 or decreasing the principal amount of bonds by any amount. For the purpose of refunding in advance of maturity, the County of McCracken, Kentucky General Obligation Bonds, Series 2011, to achieve debt service savings, approving the form of bonds, authorizing designated officers to execute and deliver the bonds, providing for the payment and security of the bonds, authorizing and approving an amended and restated contract lease and option between the County of McCracken, Kentucky and Murray State University, authorizing an amended and restated interlocal cooperation agreement with the City of Paducah, Kentucky, creating a bond payment fund, maintaining the previously established sinking fund, authorizing acceptance of the bid of the bond purchaser for the purchase of the bonds, and repealing inconsistent ordinances. This ordinance authorizes the issuance of general obligation refunding bonds designated as Series 2021A in an aggregate principal amount of approximately $5,500,000, the bonds, by the County of McCracken, Kentucky, the county. The bonds are to be issued for the purpose of providing funds for the refunding of outstanding County of McCracken, Kentucky general obligation bonds, Series 2011, the prior bonds, in advance of maturity to achieve debt service savings, paying the cost of credit enhancement for the bonds, if any, and paying the cost of issuance of the bonds. The proceeds of the prior bonds were used in part to finance the cost of the acquisition, construction, installation, and equipping of an educational building and related appurtenances, the project leased to Murray State University, the university, for the purpose of providing post-secondary education in the county. The ordinance further authorizes an amended and restated lease agreement between the county and the university and an amended and restated interlocal cooperation agreement between the county and the City of Paducah, Kentucky, the city. Pursuant to the ordinance, certain lease payments to be received from the university and certain general obligation refunding note payments to be received from the city will be pledged as additional funds for the bonds. Provisions are made in the ordinance for the payment of the bonds and the security therefore, for the application of the proceeds of the bonds, for the establishment of a bond payment fund, for the maintenance of the previously established sinking fund, and for certain covenants of the county with respect to the bonds. Excuse me. The bonds are to be sold at a public competitive sale and shall mature or be subject to mandatory sinking fund redemption in varying amounts on June 1st and or December 1st of each of the years 2022 through 2031. The bonds pledge the full faith and credit of the county, and provision is made for the collection of a tax to pay the principal of and interest on the bonds, subject to certain credits as provided in the ordinance. As required by KRS 83A.060, the following Section 20 of the ordinance is set forth in its entirety. Section 20, general obligation. The bonds shall be full general obligations of the county, and for the payment of the bonds and the interest thereon, the full faith, credit, and taxing power of the county are hereby pledged for the prompt payment thereof. During the period the bonds are outstanding, there shall be and there hereby is levied on all the taxable property in the county, in addition to all other taxes without limitation as to rate, a direct tax annually in an amount sufficient to pay the principal of and interest on the bonds when and as due, it being hereby found and determined that current tax rates are within all applicable limitations. The tax shall be and is hereby ordered computed, certified, levied, and extended upon the tax duplicate and collected by the same officers in the same manner and at the same time that taxes for general purposes for each of the years are certified, extended, and collected. The tax shall be placed before and in preference to all other items and for the full amount thereof provided. However, that in each year, to the extent that the other lawfully available funds of the county are available for the payment of the bonds and are appropriated for such purpose, the amount of such direct tax upon all of the taxable property in the county shall be reduced by the amount of such other funds so available and appropriated. Reference is hereby made to the full text of the ordinance, a copy of which is on file at the office of the Judge Executive for a full and complete state of its provisions and terms. The undersigned attorney at law, licensed to practice in Kentucky, hereby certifies that the foregoing title summary of ordinance of the county of McCracken County, Kentucky, was prepared by the undersigned and constitutes a general summary of essential provisions of said ordinance, reference to the full text of which ordinance is hereby made for a complete statement of its provisions and terms, signed by Marcus Franklin, Dinsmore and Scholl, LLP, 101 South Fifth Street, Suite 2500, Louisville, Kentucky, 40202.
All right, so that was the brief summary. Anybody want to read the whole thing? Good with that.
I think we're good.
Any discussion?
I need a motion and a second, please.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion?
So this saves us money. That's why we had Biggie do it, right?
That's right.
Cool.
Okay.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. Right.
It is hereby ordered that pursuant to KRS Chapter 67, the second reading and adoption of ordinance number 2021-17 shall be conducted in summary format as follows. Commonwealth of Kentucky, McCracken County Fiscal Court, ordinance number 2021-17. An ordinance approving the form, content, and legality of the amended and restated interlocal cooperation agreement by and between the city of Paducah, Kentucky and the county of McCracken, Kentucky, and authorizing the McCracken County Judge Executive to execute same. Summary. The action effectuated in the present ordinance is authorized by Kentucky Revised Statutes, Chapter 91A and Section 65.210 to 65.314. The present ordinance formalizes the approval of the McCracken County Fiscal Court of an amended and restated interlocal cooperation agreement into, by, and between the city of Paducah and the county of McCracken, Kentucky. Further, the present ordinance formalizes the McCracken County Fiscal Court's authorization of the McCracken County Judge Executive to execute the amended and restated ILA on behalf of the county. Certification. It is hereby certified by the McCracken County Fiscal Court that the present summary represents an accurate official statement of the main points of and contents of ordinance number 2021-17. Public inspection. A true and correct copy of ordinance number 2021-17 shall be made available for public inspection in its whole and complete form by the McCracken County Judge Executive's office. Any person desiring to inspect ordinance number 2021-17 shall contact the McCracken County Judge Executive's Office via telephone at 270-444-4707 to make arrangements for the transmission or delivery of same.
So made.
Second. Saves us the same money. Correct.
You're garbled. I didn't hear what you said.
This is another ordinance that saves us the same money the last ordinance did. It just requires 2 ordinances.
Correct.
Okay.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries.
It is hereby ordered that pursuant to KRS Chapter 67, the first reading of ordinance number 2021-19 shall be conducted in summary format as follows. Commonwealth of Kentucky, McCracken County Fiscal Court, ordinance number 2021-19, an ordinance amending the future land use map, a component of the McCracken County Comprehensive Plan, and updating the McCracken County Comprehensive Plan to reflect changes to map 9. Summary, the action effectuated in the present ordinance is required by Kentucky Revised Statutes, section 100.197, and operates to formally adopt the amendments made to map 9 of the future land use map, a component of McCracken County Comprehensive Plan, by the McCracken County Planning Commission after having introduced, discussed, and enacted the same during a formal hearing conducted on October 26, 2021. Certification. It is hereby certified by the McCracken County Fiscal Court that the present summary represents an accurate official statement of the main points of and contents of ordinance number 2021-19. Public inspection. Ordinance number 2021-19 shall be available for public inspection in its in its whole and complete form in the McCracken County Judge Executive's Office during ordinary business hours.
So made.
Second. Question, Steve. This is this an amendment to our zoning, and is it binding on the land use plan that it's unless we change it, it's law?
Commissioner, the future land use map is not binding. It's just a component. It's our best guess at what we think an area needs to be going forward. It helps you to try to direct where industry goes, where residential goes, where commercial goes. But it is non-binding, and it doesn't change anybody's zone.
Okay.
It doesn't change anybody's zone, but it might make it easier for them to change their zone in the future because it would be consistent with our future plan.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. It's the slam dunk way to change the zone because it then agrees with the future land use plan of the comp plan.
So we really don't need to change zoning unless somebody comes in with a plan to actually develop some of this industrial land. That's when we would. So there's a difference between what the zoning map says and what the land use says. Is that correct?
Correct. There are two different maps.
So the zoning can have land that's agricultural, but in our land use it says it's industrial. And for development, they would have to follow regulations related to agriculture. And if they want to do industrial, it'd have to be amended. Is that correct? Am I clear on that question? Okay.
Any other discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries.
It is hereby ordered that pursuant to KRS Chapter 67, the first reading of ordinance number 2021-20 shall be conducted in summary format as follows. McCracken County, Kentucky, McCracken County Fiscal Court, ordinance number 2021-20. An ordinance amending the McCracken County Administrative Code by amending the open records policy to effectuate a change in the name of the open records custodian set out in said open records policy adopted in ordinance number 2021-15. Summary, the action taken by the present ordinance amends ordinance number 2021-9 which repealed and replaced Ordinance 2016-08 and all amendments thereto, including Ordinance 2021-15, and further amends the county's open records policy as it relates to the designation of the open records custodian required by said open records policy. Certification. It is hereby certified by the McCracken County Fiscal Court that the present summary represents an accurate official statement of the main points of and contents of Ordinance number 2021-20. Public inspection. A true and correct copy of Ordinance number 2021-20 shall be made available for public inspection in its whole and complete form by the McCracken County Judge Executive's Office during ordinary business hours.
So made.
Second.
I was muted. All right, any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. All right, time for executive session. We need to, somebody send a message to Bruce if he's not still on with us. And this,
I'm doing that right now.
Okay. So we need a motion to move into executive session. That would be to discuss future sale or acquisition of a specific parcel of real estate as permitted by KRS 61-810-1B.
So move.
Second.
We need to include also a specific proposal by a business entity where public discussion of the subject matter would jeopardize the location, retention, expansion, or upgrading of a business entity is permitted by KRS 61-810-1G. So both those, the motion and a second, both.
Yes. So move.
All right. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. And then if we can do the, shouldn't be any kind of vote to take when we come back. We can do the motion to adjourn when we reconvene from executive session.
So move.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. So we'll go into executive session. When we get done, we'll come back into open session and adjourn without any action. All right, let's take 5 minutes and reconvene at